Hey guys, LevelCap here, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Gaming. We do this show every week, so be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to catch the next one. Today, we're taking a look at Warzone's new anti-cheat system, Unreal Engine 5, the next operation for Siege, and much more. In addition to updating Warzone to detect cheaters better, Infinity Ward now requires anyone that gets the game for free to use two-factor authentication with a valid cell phone number. These sorts of measures are pretty standard as an optional means of securing your account, but it's very uncommon to see developers make them mandatory. So it came as a bit of a shock to the Warzone cheater community. Now before I continue on with this story, I've got a quick word from our sponsors. Today's video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends, the turn-based RPG where you assemble a team of Shadow Legends, and you might be wondering, what exactly is a Shadow Legend? They are the re-embodied souls of fallen warriors come back to test their battle prowess against 10 different bosses and even fight in PvP against other players. Use my link below to download the game for free while you listen. Now, one thing I really like about Raid is that it's available on both mobile devices and PC, and since I do a lot of editing on the computer, Raid is the perfect distraction during breaks. It doesn't take a lot of time to have a battle, so you can easily fit in a session between tasks. And now available this month with the 1.15 patch are arena tournaments. You can earn points based on your tier and win awesome rewards in the local and global tournament. So what are you guys waiting for? Click that link in the video description, grab Raid for yourself, and new players who click the link right away will get 100,000 silver and a free epic champion Jotun. Just click this little treasure chest here to collect your rewards. Alright, getting back to Warzone cheating. Forums for several Warzone cheat websites were filled with angry customers that paid for reliable hacks only to get banned. Attempting to create a new account, even with a new number, also seemed to be backfiring on banned cheaters. Infinity Ward are likely building a profile of your PC hardware, IP address, and other means to identify an individual player. So, spoofing your hardware ID numbers, exchanging hardware, getting new IP addresses, and most other typical ways of dodging an outstanding ban won't work. You'd basically have to use an entirely new computer with a different ISP to get around Infinity Ward's bans. Of course, this system only works if you actually get caught cheating. Two-factor authentication requirements are great for stopping repeat offenders, but until they get caught the first time, cheaters can still wreak havoc for days, if not weeks on end. The bright side is with such a strong deterrent in place, it lowers Warzone's profile as a vulnerable and worthwhile game to exploit. Cheat makers will likely continue tuning their cheats to avoid detection, but I think it's safe to say, for now at least, that Infinity Ward are one step ahead of the cheaters. Personally, I've been lucky enough to avoid cheaters in most of Warzone matches, but that's not the case for many other players. Hopefully, Infinity Ward can keep their lead over cheaters for the long term. It's an uphill battle for sure, but it's still worth fighting, and it's great to see a company as big as Infinity Ward take such drastic action to preserve the integrity of their game. Epic came out swinging this week with a major reveal. Sometimes we forget that Epic does other things than produce Fortnite. They also make one of the gaming world's most popular engines, the Unreal Engine 4. In recent years, it's been the go-to engine for large-scale multiplayer titles, and it's even seen a widespread adoption for single-player games. This is mainly due to its generous licensing, robust tool sets, great support, and ease of use. But this week, Epic took things to the next level. They revealed Unreal Engine 5 running on a PlayStation 5. The demo featured ray-traced global illumination, the ability to directly import full-resolution assets from 3D rendering software like ZBrush, and no loading screens. On the surface, this stuff might sound impressive. High-res textures and geometry is something that's pretty much ubiquitous in AAA games these days. But what Unreal Engine 5 is supposedly capable of goes way beyond anything that we've seen. Unreal Engine 5 has an advanced compression system that automatically manages everything without having to manually downscale textures and assets. So a digital artist can create an asset and just plug it into the engine without having to make lower quality replicas of it. This preserves not only the original detail of the asset, but also the artistic vision for it, and also a lot of data since the game doesn't have to now save low-res versions of everything. Developers won't have to sacrifice fine detail in Unreal Engine 5 just to get playable frame rates. You'll also be able to have circular objects like weapon barrels and glasses that are perfectly round. This also means that developers can iterate much more quickly. Instead of having to make multiple versions of every asset every time you make a minor change, you can import the update assets directly. Just imagine having to rewrite the same sentence 3 times every time you corrected your spelling of one word. That often ends up being the busy work side of game development. Now, as for what that means for gamers is generally good news. Better engine tools and performance means that we're going to see higher visual quality coming out of even lower budget titles. Also, ditching loading screens is huge for gameplay immersion, especially in massive open world games that feature entering buildings. And when it comes to lighting, Nvidia's RTX toolset was really the first time we've ever seen proper real lighting in games, and it's already blown us away, despite being incredibly limited and slow for the time being. If Unreal Engine 5 can deliver real-time global illumination with ray trace bounce lighting without also requiring specialized hardware, it could be a game changer for the entire industry. Rainbow Six Siege is getting a new operation soon called Steel Wave. It'll add 2 new operators, Ace and Maluzi. A leaked trailer gives us our first look at the upcoming content, but it doesn't delve into specifics. A full reveal trailer is scheduled for Monday, so be on the lookout for new info soon. Ghost of Tsushima is one of the most anticipated games of the year. It's a PlayStation 4 exclusive by the legendary studio Sucker Punch. They revealed new gameplay in an 18-minute presentation highlighting the game's exploration, combat, and cosmetic customization systems. This is the first time we've gotten an in-depth look at Tsushima's gameplay and also some information about its open world. In a nutshell, the game is built to offer a truly immersive experience. Instead of traditional waypoint markers showing you where to go, you can call on the wind as a visual navigation aid. Instead of collectibles being pop-ups on your HUD or minimap, the animals of the game's lush countryside will lead you to shrines and other points of interest. As for combat, it looks like an interesting blend of classic Dark Souls approach with a much more casual and fluid combat system. I'm sure there will be a hard mode that amps the difficulty up, but I don't think the game is built around the same philosophy of mastery through misery that Dark Souls is. If anything, I'd compare it more to maybe Jedi Fallen Order. Finally, the cosmetics aren't just cosmetics. Your clothes function like armor. In fact, you can actually craft full suits of samurai armor. Depending on your chosen playstyle, you can craft armor that suits you better. So, if you prefer stealth combat, you can dress up in lighter weight clothes that offer less protection but more mobility. It's pretty typical stuff, but the visual quality of some of the clothing and armor puts it up there with some of the best games in the genre. Ghost of Tsushima is due out on July 17th for the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 4 Pro. Vince Zampella, aka the guy that helped invent the Call of Duty franchise, Titanfall, and Apex Legends, was recently handed the keys to the castle at DICE LA. The studio is well known for being the backbone of Battlefield's post-launch support. They played a massive role in getting Battlefield 4 into a good state post-launch and have contributed all sorts of DLC and manpower to the franchise. There was some concern that Zampella's takeover would mean dramatic changes at the studio. It doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. In a recent interview, he outlined his interest in having the studio continue pursuing the FPS genre that they're so well known for working in. He also hasn't made any strange demands like working with a specific engine. All things considered, it sounds more like Zampella is just overseeing a transition for the studio rather than him coming in to make some kind of pet project. Unfortunately, whatever they're cooking up there probably won't be a Battlefield title. DICE LA may be working on new FPS games, but the key word there is new. As of yet, they aren't working on a Battlefield spin-off title. Doom Eternal's first update is barely a few days out of the gate, and it's already come under fire for adding the incredibly invasive de novo anti-cheat system. Now, this system is different to the rather benign de novo anti-tamper system most games utilize to encrypt and protect games from crackers and hackers. It actually bears a close resemblance to Valorant's anti-cheat driver, Vanguard. They're both kernel-level anti-cheat drivers that essentially behave like core components of your operating system. This means that they have the highest level of access possible and run at the startup of your computer, whether or not you launch the game. It also means a single vulnerability could expose every single user to incredibly dangerous exploits and attacks. Like Vanguard, Doom Eternal's new anti-cheat driver has been met with a massive backlash by players. In the past, id have been very receptive to customer feedback, but considering that Riot haven't backed off on their requirement to have Vanguard in order to play Valorant, it wouldn't shock me if id did the same for Doom. In our final story this week, wouldn't it be great if a Battle Royale game charged you real money to play more than one match per day? Well, that's the business model of the CULLING Origins. This is the third official relaunch of the CULLING, a Battle Royale game that originally debuted in 2016. After the developers released and later pulled a horrendous sequel from the market, they relaunched the original game with its 1.0 update as a free-to-play title. This undid years of post-launch updates to the game as part of a promise to realize the game's original vision. That also went poorly. It launched this past Thursday on Xbox One, and a PC version is in the works. This time around, it's a paid game that only lets you play one match per day. You can buy or earn tokens that let you play more matches, but obviously, the game is geared towards buying token packs. You also have the option of paying for an unlimited pass that only lasts 7 days. This, quite honestly, seems like a recipe for failure if I've ever seen one. Pay-to-play models are all but phased out except for maybe some MMOs these days, and paying for a match really reminds me of old school arcade games. The huge popularity and competitive nature of the game industry has basically ensured that a model like this is almost guaranteed to fail in today's market. The developers' decisions surrounding post-launch support of the CULLING have been some of the worst I have seen in recent memory, and this is just another one to add to that pile. Anyway, that wraps it up for today's episode of This Week in Gaming. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing off.